Hello everyone. This is a little bit of a different experience today. Not a car factory, a watch factory. And I've just got to my right or left, depending on which way we're pinned, Pietro from the limited edition, who's actually one of our sponsors. Hopefully you've seen information on him on our website and obviously on our newsletters. Pietro, welcome to the stage. Thank you ever so much for setting this up for us. If this wasn't for you, this wouldn't have happened. And a really, really cool idea. I'm a big watch fan, and I've got absolutely no idea how they're made. I just like how they look. So it'll be really interesting to get an insight into this particular brand and why they're different from the rest of the brands that we have, and maybe to make it a little bit simple to us car fans, you know, how we can compare this brand to other, you know, like-minded brands as well. So no, thank you. Welcome to the stage. I'll just let some more people in, and I hope you all enjoy this.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for sharing what is a passion really for me. And I was lucky enough to make my passion my job. As it turns out, the watch market in the UK, but all over the world, doesn't really focus on the artisanal brands, the independent watchmakers, as we call them. And that's an underground, incredibly big reality amongst watch collectors, but you just can't simply find them on the high street. So I decided to take a chance and to give shed some light on this part of the market that is so full of passion, is full of charm, and is a fascinating, really, in an already fascinating industry. So yeah, we are the limited edition. We champion the independent watchmakers. So whatever you can't find on the high street, in terms of luxury watches, you will find it on the limited edition. And we have made our mission to bring these incredible watchmakers more to the eyes of those that can appreciate beautiful things in life. So today we have a fantastic example. Armin Strom is a contemporary watchmaker that takes the name of one of the most legendary Swiss watchmakers, and they've been championing technical innovation in an incredible way. They've been rewarded with, for example, just to give an example, they were finalists at the latest Oscars of watchmaking, so at the Grand Prix de l'Horlogerie in Geneva. So they are having a status that goes miles beyond the visibility that they have on the high street at the moment, because the high street basically doesn't focus on the independents anymore. But as you know, Brad, more than me, we have people that are here today to talk about the brand from the inside. So it will be a pleasure to welcome the SCC private members, as well as some of the limited edition collectors that I know are watching this today as well, directly to the manufacturer.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be pretty cool. And also, we're actually streaming from outside the UK today for a factory. So we need to bring in Cloud from Armin Strom from Switzerland. He's going to give us a quick intro. I'm sure Pietro would like to catch up with him quickly first, but he was intro to exactly where he sat in the world, and then a bit of a history of the actual brand itself. I really, really hope you enjoy this, guys. I'm going to head off now. There will be a Q&A with Pietro at the end. So either WhatsApp me directly or drop a message into the chat room. So if you have any questions, either way is absolutely fine. Please enjoy this. Let me welcome in Cloud, and I will make an exit off the screen. Let me just admit someone else is just joining now. Right.
Thank you, Brad.
Hi, Cloud. Nice to meet you. I will leave you with Pietro, but no, really enjoyed. Thank you ever so much for setting this up for the club and for the members. I'm really interested, as I said, to learn all about your product and how it's made, and maybe make some references to the car world, so I can understand a little bit better about the luxury watch world, or uber luxury watch world is your forte. So I'm going to leave now. Thank you ever so much, guys, and over to you.
Thank you. So to introduce Claude, Claude is a master watchmaker, what we call a master watchmaker. So somebody that has a deep and vast experience in highly technical innovation in the field of micro-engineering to create timepieces. And he has actually taken over with the Michel family 10 years ago from the hands of one of the legendary watchmakers called Armin Strom. He has taken over this company that at the time was just a name of a watchmaker and turned it into a global artisanal manufacturer. So the brand is present in the 5 continents, again, not necessarily on the high street, but surely in the eyes and in the brains, in the heart of big watch collectors worldwide. So Claude, my first question as I welcome you to this broadcast is, how satisfying have been these last 10 years in championing microengineering and innovation, like a little bit it happens in the car industry. Technical engineering is so fundamental, but you are working on dimension and sizes that are obviously all down to the micron, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. That's I think one of the biggest challenges in doing watches are the sizes we do work on. So something we're gonna see later. I mean, we do our own screws, we do our own pinions and wheels, and everything has to be very, very precise. So that's one of the biggest challenges in doing watches.
Absolutely. So would you say today at Armin Strom, the whole of the production basically is handmade and is in-house as well? So you master most of all the competencies, and I should stress how important this is, because there are a lot of manufacturers that they focus more on purchasing some parts, purchasing movements, purchasing components outside, so outsourcing to then be quicker in delivering in volumes, in big numbers. You don't focus on numbers, do you?
No, we definitely don't focus on numbers. We focus on innovation, tradition and innovation. I think that's one of the of our challenges. We are inspired by the history of watchmaking, by the heritage of watchmaking in Switzerland. And on the other hand, we try to innovate on watch movements. So we always try to be better than our competitors.
If there are, I don't know, 300 luxury watch brands on the market, I estimate more or less, we could discuss about this, but how many do you think at the moment can call themselves in-house manufacturer, whereby a collector would actually receive a timepiece that has been made by the watchmakers that are in your team as a master watchmaker? So how many do you think there will be in the world, more or less?
I think maybe, let's say, a handful of factories which really do focus on producing their own movements. As you mentioned, most of the watch brands, they do buy movements, the watch movement, the watch engine from movement suppliers, companies which do purely focusing on producing movement for many big names we do know from the watch brands. And there are just a few of them which really do make their own products, something which was more a tradition maybe a few hundred years ago, when every single watchmaker had to produce his own movements. But then over the last few years, there were some big companies which do provide the movements. And so this is why this tradition got maybe a little bit lost, that the brands do their own movements. But we definitely do focus on movement production, on movement innovation.
And a little bit like the top end and quirky car manufacturers, we have been visiting Morgan premises recently, or there are, I could mention, niche names like Pagani, for example, although I'm not the biggest car expert, but I can see in the cars as well, there is a big dichotomy, a big differentiation between brands that are more commercially established and developed and those that are focused more on the client, on bespoke in general. So how much are you focused on bespoke, on actually focusing on the demand rather than producing just to fill up all the dealerships around the world?
Let's say today we have a lot of demand in customizing pieces. First of all, we have our watch configurator where you can configure your own timepiece. But on the other hand, yes, we do a lot of special editions. We do a lot of custom pieces. We just recently did a piece for an Aston Martin owner with the dial in British racing green, with the strap, which was even made out of the leather of the car seat. So yes, we go really deep in customization because we have everything in-house. So we have the knowledge, we have the machines, and we can really provide full customization or customized watch.
And that's
even melted down. Actually, we even melted down F1 engines.
Yeah.
And out of this material, which we got out of the F1 engines, we produced watch movements for a UK F1 company a few years ago.
Fantastic. Yeah, I remember your involvement with the F1 as well, with the Marussa team back in the days. So that's the point now, Claude. It's not about being special just for the sake of producing less and being in your own corner doing your little thing, but it's the control that you have on all the manufacturing phases, such as that really allows you, anytime there is the need, to adapt to the customer's requests, taking your time, taking what it needs in terms of research and development, and giving this then excellent service to the client that goes beyond just purchasing a watch and then the story is over.
Definitely, yeah.
Very good, very good. So one thing has to be said as well about Claude. Claude, you are a bit of a scientist to me, because you're not happy to just, with your team, of course, Armin Strom, to make beautiful watches, but you have a keen interest on developing technological challenges, if you like. Since the Michel family and yourself have been involved with Armin Strom, you've developed incredible concepts such as using resonance in watches, the force of resonance to increase the accuracy of watches. And I think behind you we have a bit of a hint of the work you've been doing in terms of research and development. Tourbillon, your famous declutch, patented declutch system. So scientific development and all the patents that you have been able to register are a big part of what Armin Strom stands for.
Yeah, definitely innovation, but it's combined with, on the other hand, combined with tradition. So the way we do our watches, the finishing, the assembling is still handmade, belongs to the tradition of watchmaking, which also makes the value of the watch. And on the other hand, we try to combine it with the very modern way of designing and engineering movement. So because thanks to the high precision CNC machines we use, thanks to the three-dimensional engineering, we have a lot of opportunities to still improve the watch movement, especially in chronometry. What you mentioned, the resonance, the topic of the resonance, or the goal of resonance is to make the movement more precise. And finally, the owner of the watch has a watch which runs close to 0 seconds a day.
And everyone can go on Google and try to research a little bit about how many brands actually manage to master resonance in terms of watchmakers, and there is less than a handful. So it is a real technological challenge. So Claude, one of the things that fascinate me, and I love all the luxury brands. I don't despise a big brand like Rolex, for example, or Patek Philippe, producing in bigger quantities, if you like. Every brand has its own value, but we can say for independent watchmaking, when you operate the way you do, it means that the inner value of the timepiece is actually very close to the retail value that goes out, because you are not set up for the big distribution. You're not set up to sell in big volumes to all the retailers around the world. So every single watch, when you pay 100, you know that the value is not much, very far from that 100 that you end up paying, because that's what happens with independence.
Definitely, that's the strength of independent watch brands. I think the value you get for the money, the time we spend on doing decoration, the time we spend on adding handwork to the movements, it's something which a big brand cannot provide, because it's not scalable. By doing everything by hand, you cannot do big volumes. That's something you can only do if you do a few hundred pieces a year. And I think that's a huge difference between the small independent world or the mass production, which they do finally have to do it by machines.
Absolutely. And as per, just to give a bit of a better understanding, as per phenomenal as a brand like Rolex is, of course, dominating a certain part of the market. And also we are all grateful to Rolex for creating this good perception within people in the world that it is a good thing. It is a fascinating world, the world of mechanical watchmaking. But so a brand like Rolex produces 1 million watches a year. Nobody knows, but that's the estimation, more or less. How many do you produce at the moment, Claude, if you can disclose that with us?
At the moment, we do close to 300 pieces this year. We did a little bit more in the past, but today focusing more on highly complicated watches. We had to reduce the number of watches, because with the team, we cannot do as many watches as we did in the past by increasing the technology. So every watch needs more time to be decorated, to be assembled, to be adjusted. So we had to even, which is normally doesn't make sense, but we even lowered the quantities.
Yeah, and obviously because you're not a public company either, you're obviously a private company, you can take the time that you need. You're only looking at profitability and sustainability to offer the best possible product, I guess. And that's our experience at the limited edition we have. So Claude, to get more into the nitty-gritty, I think we can start from the research and development, because you have a fantastic backwall there that can explain a little bit the work that comes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years before actually coming out with the final product. And then we can take our guests to the visit of the factory, if you agree with the plan.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Great. So research and development.
So research and development, I will just make sure that Thierry can that Bradley can share the screen of Thierry so that I can show you the.
Yeah, okay, so we get Thierry in. And the second camera at the Armin Strom facilities. Yeah, I can see two Claudes now.
Perfect, yeah. Okay, so we are in the R&D office. This is where we do all the research and development. So research and development normally starts with an idea. Then we start to do our hand sketches. We do work with ideas on papers, with pencils. We do our drawings, we do our calculations. And then from there, we go to the 3D software. And then it's all about 3D engineering. So we have the full movement on our software where we can calculate the gear trains, we can design bridges, main plates, dials, and everything.
How many components would you say go into an Armin Strom in-house manufacture caliber these days, Claude?
So the very simple ones, they have 250 components, and from there we go up to 680 components.
Yeah, all of them manufactured, all of them equally finished and decorated.
Exactly, yeah, that's something. So everything is made in-house, so it's produced in-house. So that's the next workshop we're going to see. We have to, therefore, we have to go downstairs to see all the CNC machines.
How's the weather in Switzerland today?
Actually, it's good.
I got my answer. I got my answer. Brilliant. You know, Brad, I used to live there, and I moved a few years ago to on a mission to tell the stories that I've seen there, the incredible stories I've seen there. Yes, Claude.
Okay, before opening the door, it's a bit noisy inside there. So what I will do, I will show you the CNC machine. It's the latest CNC technology we use to produce the parts. So to produce screws, wheels, plates, and things like this. So typically this is a CNC machine which we use to produce axes, wheels, and screws. So everything which is made out of round raw material. Then we have our milling machine, which we do use to produce our main plates and bridges. So this is the raw material which we get from a supplier, especially produced for our needs. And then we cut out by milling and drilling all the holes and shapes which we do need to produce the part.
Claude, can you hear me?
Yes.
Obviously, the main plate is such a critical element of a watch movement because all the 250 components you mentioned about before, 250 to 600, they are all somehow obviously sitting on that main plate, and they have to you build up the movement from there. So if the main plate is not as perfect as it has to be, the whole thing would not work.
Yeah, definitely. That's quite, let's say that's the heart of the watch. So without the main plate, the watch, that's like the chassis of a car. You know, this is where the engine is fixed, where the suspension is fixed, the brakes are fixed. So let's say what we call the main plate is the chassis of a car.
Yeah, we obviously like the cars analogy. Perfect. So in that department, Claude, is where mainly all the CNC operations are carried out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is something that is easily outsourceable, no? Normally, as we were discussing before.
Yeah, but we even do provide other watch companies with spare parts because we do have such a strong team, and we are able to do very, very complicated parts. We also got very known for that, so we do supply other watch companies with spare parts, especially when it becomes to very difficult parts. So let's say the standard parts, there are a lot of suppliers which can do, but if it becomes to very technical, difficult parts, then Armin Strom is a good partner for other watch companies.
Very good.
And then the next workshop is decoration. And this is where the watchmakers do polish and finish all the watch parts. So they use different specific tools to do all kind of decorations by hand, and that's the difference between fabrication and decoration, is that in this workshop everything is done by hand. So we use the CNC machines to produce the parts because they are very, very precise. But if it comes to decoration, it still has to be done by hand because a machine can never do as precise, as perfectly polished as it would be possible by hand.
Armin Strom decoration department is very famous in our world, Claude. You have taken the pain of setting up really a proper artistic department where so many techniques, you know, from engraving to enameling to guillochage, perlage, all the techniques are mastered, lacquering. Again, there are so many workshops in Switzerland that are focusing on these techniques, and you could have outsourced that, but you decided to internalize it so you can give your signature to every single part of every single watch.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's an artwork, you know. Doing decoration is something which you have to master if you want to do it as in such a level that we do it. You have to master all the techniques to increase the quality, because otherwise, if you're depending from suppliers, you can never really go as far in quality as we go. And just to give you an idea, for let's say a main plate, we talked about the main plate later. So the main plate takes about 2 hours to be produced with the CNC machine, but then in decoration there's be another 10 hours just to do all the finishings by hand.
Yeah. There's
much more handwork than CNC work on the parts.
And 2 questions, Claude. Every single part, even the invisible ones that now Armin Strom is famous for skeletonization, so for see-through watches, those watches where you can see all the mechanics inside, but there are always some hidden parts. And what do you do with the hidden parts in terms of decoration and finishing, Claude?
Well, actually, when the people who do the decoration, they don't really care if the part is visible or invisible. They just see, they do it. Let's say every single part gets a 360-degree decoration. It doesn't matter if it's visible or invisible. They get the same quality on all over the part. So the idea, and that's a sign of a very high-level produced watch, is one day, let's say another watchmaker does disassemble the watch, and he will judge the quality by disassembling. He will see that we took care of every single detail.
Yeah, just like in these days, you know, you go to the British Museum, you can see the most incredible collection of British watchmaking. And when you have the chance as a watchmaker to open these incredible movements, like a new Claude, you've been through that, because becoming a master watchmaker, how can I say, implies a lot of restoration work, no? And when you do restoration, you can appreciate how all the parts for centuries have always been decorated, finished in a certain way. So you want to keep that level, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also in restoration, or in how you judge the quality of a watch, how a watch can become a successful auctioned watch or not, if by the quality which it was made. And because back in the days, the brand name was not important. What is important is just the quality in which the watch is made. So that's also our philosophy. Our philosophy is that the watch has to be perfectly decorated.
So there is a bit of pride in that, no? The fact that if a watchmaker will open the movement in 100 years, they will see it's not an ETA movement, it's not an industrially manufactured movement, it's a work of art, and every single part has been, you know, put the time and the effort in.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
So after decoration, we have in-house plating workshop.
Which is we're talking about the finishing more. Yeah.
So after finishing, the watch parts, they're still in brass, and brass would, if we would assemble a watch movement out of brass, it would oxidate. So that's something which we cannot accept. And also the color, we have to make sure that there's a nice color on the movement. So what we do is we protect the brass part by doing galvanic treatments to make sure that it will not oxidate, and also there's color giving at the end, is to make sure that the watch is nice, has a nice design and a nice look. So this is something what we do here in this galvanic kitchen. So galvanic treatments means we have, let's say, I can show you this one. So this is liquid metal, which are in the bath. And then by adding electricity, we can plate the parts.
Fantastic. Which again allows you a whole lot of opportunities, Claude. If I have an Armin Strom watch and I send it back to you and I say, oh, Claude, I would like it to be PVD coated, or to be blackened, or to be different color in some details, you can just do it on demand for the client.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fantastic.
And also quality, you know, if you master the galvanic treatments, you don't have to send the parts out of the company into another company and then wait till they come back. And so there can be a lot of troubles in between. And here is assembling. This is the assembling workshop. This is where the real watchmakers do their job. So once everything is completely fabricated, it's decorated, and they got their platings, so the watch will be ready to be assembled by the watchmaker. And here we see Lucas. Lucas is working on dual time resonance. This was our masterpiece 1.
Oh yes, it's the dual time. So this is one of those pieces you were saying you're talking more than 400 components, huh?
Yeah, way more.
This is the dual time. It combines basically 2 separate movements that give you 2 different times in the world. So not like a GMT, but actually has 2 separate mechanical movements linked together by the force of resonance. So it's one of the biggest masterpieces in Armin Strom's production.
With a sapphire case, a case which we have made out of sapphire glass.
Crazy. So, Claude, what would you think the margin of error you have in general throughout the CNC, the hand decoration, the finishing galvanic, and the watchmaking work of assembling at the end? What's the most delicate phase historically for you?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think all of them have their challenges, but I would say maybe it's decoration, which is the most challenging part, because there it becomes a bit too, everything else, fabrication and assembling is more about facts and numbers, and decoration is about, it's an artistic, how do you say, an artistic work.
Yeah.
And to touch an artistic work, we always have discussion about when it's perfect, how it's perfect, how should we do better, or I think it's maybe the most difficult part is decoration.
Like watchmakers, it must be not easy to find skilled and experienced people with those abilities on the market. No, so I guess you have to take care of them very, very carefully.
Yeah, we do, definitely.
Yeah.
That's the soul of our company, are our employees. That's of course we are very proud to have such a cool team. Everybody is really, really motivated to push the company, and yeah, for all of them, I think watchmaking is more than just a let's say a job. It's a passion. It doesn't stop when they leave the company. That's they love doing watches, and that's also seen in the final product.
Absolutely. And this to come back to this masterpiece, the dual time, we're talking of a timepiece that is retailed at £210,000, excluding tax. So we're talking about obviously an object for a lifetime. As you said, over 400 components. How long, because collectors are often very interested in how long does a masterpiece like that take to be put together? Forget about the R&D, because I know the R&D, we already said, probably took 2 or 3 years just to conceive the architecture and the engineering of the watch, but actually from the making perspective.
From the making, if we count the hours of work we spend on fabrication, decoration, assembling, I would say that it would took one person more than 6 months to produce the masterpiece.
Yeah, to produce one single piece. Yeah. Fantastic. I don't want to ask too many things because I don't want to anticipate some of the questions that I'm sure will come at the end, Brad, if that's cool with you. And I think that Claude will be ready to go to show us some of the watches. Unless Claude, are you happy with that? We go and see some watches?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
I'm going to show first, and I'm very proud of obviously this piece that we have created in collaboration with Armin Strom for our 5th anniversary of the limited edition. The limited edition is an online platform, thelimitededition.co.uk. As I said, we are privileged to be the richest platform in terms of independent artisanal watchmakers out there. You find us on Instagram on thelimitededition.uk as well. And for the 5th anniversary, we were privileged to produce our own edition of the famous Gravity Equal Force by Armin Strom. So this is the watch I wanted to start with. I hope you can see it okay through my brand new laptop. They promised me great definition of the image, so I hope you're enjoying this. And here is the view at the back. It's a timepiece that retails at £15,000 more or less, and it has all the codes of Armin Strom, the skeletonization, all the details related to the finishing that Claude was talking about, and the decoration, as well as the engineering with a patent as well, a mechanism at the back, which is the declutch system. So this you'll find on the limited edition, as well as the pieces that Claude, the masterpieces that Claude is gonna show to us. Now, before we go into a bit of a Q&A, I'm really curious to hear your questions after this. So, Claude, what have you got?
Oh, okay. Sorry?
What do you have in front of you?
Okay, I have 2 of our latest models, the Gravity Equal Force. So let's say these are the standard versions without the gear-shaped plate.
Claude, can we redefine it again for a second what we mean for skeletonization in watchmaking?
What we mean by skeletonization?
In watchmaking, yeah.
Yeah, but that has a tradition. So that's the master watchmakers in the past were known to be able to remove all the material which is not necessary in the watch movement and to showcase the whole mechanic. So the idea was to take an existing movement and to showcase all the details in the watch.
From the front and from the back.
From the front and from the back. So never cover the movement with a plain dial. So the movement becomes always part of the design of the watch. So the mechanic of the movement becomes part of the design. That means skeletonized, means you can see through the watch movement. You can see what's happening in between the gear trains, the wheels, and everything.
And Mr. Armin Strom, before obviously you took over the company, took it to the extreme and to the extent of being recognized as a master of skeletonization, to the point where classes of skeletonizations were introduced in the Swiss universities and schools of watchmaking.
Exactly. He was strongly believing in skeletonizing watches back in the 80s and was very successful by skeletonizing. He was one of the first independent, and he was also able, or he got selected by Omega watches to do their limited skeletonized editions. Because imagine Omega, the factory is close to us. They have a few hundred watchmakers working for Omega, but there was not one of them was able to skeletonize movement in the same quality as Mr. Armin Strom. So they had to hire an external watchmaker, which was Mr. Armin Strom, to do the skeleton work for them. This is just gives an idea how good he was in skeletonizing.
Yeah, which was often the way for independent watchmakers. Now we know the story of George Daniels, probably one of the, if not the most important contemporary watchmaker of our times. And he obviously collaborated with Omega as well at the time. And he helped them introducing obviously the famous coaxial escapement. So there is always a bridge, no, between what we call, I don't want to call it industrial, it's a bit derogatory, and I don't want to be derogatory, but let's say more commercial and mainstream watchmaking, and artisanal independent watchmaking, because the independents are those that are the real, how can I say, technological drivers of the whole industry.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption. So you were showing us the gravity equal force. Why is it called gravity equal force?
So equal force is gravity, first of all, is because it's a micro rotor movement. That means there is a rotor winding up the watch. So by gravity, this micro rotor does wind up the watch. And then we have equal force is because we do regulate the tension of the mainspring in the barrel in a way that we just give a very constant force to the gear train. Because most of, or every mechanical watch has the problem that at the beginning, the watch has a very low, when you start to wind up the watch, the power is very low. And at the end, once the watch is fully wound, we have a lot of energy. And the equal force barrel does regulate the energy in the barrel to give a very equal force to the escapement, which is finally then you can see in timekeeping. So your watch is much more precise than a standard watch.
It sounds anachronistic, Claude, because of course our smartwatches and our mobile phones are much more accurate in terms of timekeeping. But that's the real challenge in mechanical watchmaking, is to get closer and closer to those standards with an object that is completely handmade rather than just a disposable commodity that you will throw away after a couple of years of use.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what drives, what always drove the watchmakers and the watch industry, was always to be better, to be more precise in mechanical watches. That is part of our existing of our motivation to
and that
produce
motivation
watches.
that motivation brings crazy ideas like using the force of resonance, no, to make watches more accurate, which is something that basically nobody had done before, apart from, as I said, a couple of other watchmakers.
Yeah, just a couple of, to give you an idea what resonance is. Resonance means we have two movements in one watch, which we do synchronize by this resonance clutch spring. And by synchronizing them, we get a much better timekeeping, because we take the average of both movements. By bringing them in resonance, they beat in the same frequency, and the frequency, which means the timekeeping, becomes much more stable. So instead of one movement, you have two movements, and like a twin, something similar to maybe a twin engine car, you know. Imagine you have a car with two engines, and you master that the two engines have exactly the same, produce exactly the same speed. So that's about the idea of resonance.
Here we go. We will send everybody that attended this seminar, as it turned out to be, this lovely book about Armin Strom. We will send it from our headquarters here in Leicester to everyone. So make sure you give your details to Brad, because we'll be very happy to do that, and you'll see all the images, obviously, and a bit more clarity than what we can do here with the video, of course, with the current restrictions. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, and on the next one, it's the pinnacle of Armin Strom, no, Claude, where we're talking about another masterpiece. Here we're talking how many components on this piece that you're going to show us now?
Here we are close to 700 pieces.
Incredible. Incredible.
Watch parts. As pieces in total, we have it's limited to 10 watches, but in total we have 700 pieces in the watch, and it's called Masterpiece 1, a watch which we launched for our 10th anniversary of the manufacturing. And it's called it's actually the first ever built resonance combined with the minute repeater, something which was never done before in the watch industry. So the resonance, which gives a very precise timekeeping to the watch, and the minute repeater, which does ring the time, something which I can show you how it works.
Yeah, so the minute repeater already is known as one of the hardest complications. And it was, oh yeah, sorry. So minute repeater was conceived in the more or less in the 18th to 19th century to give the time to people at night when they couldn't have, you know, the light available in those days. In some incredible minds, watchmaking minds, they managed to create a system within a watch that on demand would give you the opportunity to hear the time, because every sound that comes out is equivalent to either an hour or a quarter of an hour or minutes. So, and this is supposed to be already, probably, Claude, correct me if I'm wrong, together with a chronograph, one of the most complicated mechanisms, and you have added resonance to it.
Exactly, yeah. It is known as the most complicated complications, because there are so many parts involved. You have to master so many different things to make sure that it rings the perfect time. And then, as you can see, there's a lot of parts involved. They take a lot of space in the watch movements, and to add 2 extra movements, that was a huge challenge.
So in every one of those watches, 700 parts have been handled at one point by your decorators and by your assemblers. At one given point, they had to go through their skilled, obviously, handling.
Yeah, Yeah, every single piece is made in-house. This is why the production is so low on those pieces. So there is a total number of 10 pieces because it takes so much time to do them. It's we are not able to do much more of them.
A bit like a rock band, Claude, you sometimes collaborate with some other incredible watchmakers. In this case, it was with the Cercle des Horlogers, but also it's famous the collaboration with Kari Voutilainen. So these are names of external watchmakers. How this doesn't happen with the big brands, with the mainstream brands. It only happens on the independent watchmakers level. How is that important to happen?
Well, I think it's important because every company has its strengths, and I think, and we are all friends. First of all, the watch industry is very small in Switzerland, and we do know each other very well, especially the independent world. And yeah, to take benefit of knowledges and to combine different techniques and different skills makes the product even more perfect.
Fantastic. I'm sure, Brad, I can see you popping over on the screen. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I did when I went physically to Armin Strom.
I got the feeling, Pietro, we'd been here. It's about 9 o'clock tonight with your questions, because it was pretty fascinating. But as we're conscious, we've stolen people's lunch times, and also the team over in Switzerland's time. We just want to have a couple of questions to go through. If you have any other questions that haven't been asked, please just WhatsApp myself directly or into the group chat. I mean, first, what is our Nick? Thank you. Sorry, Nick. Thank you. With the watches are beautiful. I'm blown away by the complexity and how they're made, and 700 parts in that watch. When you said that one had 400 parts, I thought that was impressive. But yeah, wow. Incredible. And if anybody has any interest in watches, please, and you can't get Pietro's details, drop a message to me and I'll introduce you to Pietro as well. We've got a couple of questions. One question, a member's suffering a little bit after his COVID vaccine jab, so he asked me to ask the question directly. So I'm just going to read it off my screen here. It's about the future of watchmaking. So directly to you, Thierry, could you give examples of the Grand Seiko, or who is the forefront of, who do you believe is the forefront of watch technology?
To Claude, yeah.
Claude. So Claude, sorry, apologies.
It's quite a difficult question, because there are, to understand the watch industry, there are ways. Either we are talking about big brands and mass production, or we are talking about smaller production. The company you mentioned, especially in huge volume, I think it's a very innovative company. But I think there are a few more independent watchmakers which are even more innovative than maybe the bigger brands. But that's, yeah, I mean, that's, if you go back in history, there was always the independent watchmakers or the master watchmakers, which started traditionally good made innovations, and then slowly the bigger companies, they took over what they launched.
Wow, okay. Next question. I don't know if Nick's suffering with interference, but we'll just bring him off mute. If Nick, if you want to unmute yourself. Nick, you're going to have to mute. I'll ask your question. Nick, I'll ask your question for you. It looks like you're suffering with quite bad interference. Nick was asking about your customized straps, but what's the level of bespoke detail can you go to on your straps as well? I'm guessing material, leathers, etc., etc. Nick, drop me a WhatsApp message if I've not asked that correctly. And also, Nick is the first person to put his hands up for the brochure, Pietro, so I'll definitely send you his details. I will get it posted out to him, or you send them to me and I'll post them out, whichever's best.
Just to give you, there's almost no limit by doing straps, customized straps, because as long as there's either a leather as a base material or something, let's say a sail from a yacht or whatever. We have done so many different straps in the past, so there's almost no
limit
in doing straps.
Amazing. That's the two questions I had. I think Pietro must have asked all of the questions for everyone today. So appreciate we're 2 minutes the end of everyone's. Oh, hang on. Right, Stefan, if you could ask your question. I've just seen it pop through.
Yeah, afternoon. It was just a question. Do you 3D print any of your components?
Not for to do prototypes, we do 3D print. Just give you an example of the miniature repeater. So we do, during the R&D process, we do use 3D printing to check sizes, to get the first touch and feel. But then the 3D printing is just not precise enough to do any watch parts, because today the technology is not as precise as we do need it for watch parts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Sorry, I had another question come through, but it wasn't a question. Someone actually bought a watch from you, Pietro, so I'll introduce you later, who's on this Zoom call. That's one of the SCC members. So maybe next in line for an Armin Strom watch. I just want to finish by saying a massive thank you to you, Pietro, and the team over in Switzerland. You didn't answer my original question, was where exactly in Switzerland are you then?
We are based in Biel, which is close to Bern, close to the capital of Switzerland. A city which is very known for watchmaking. So we have, as Pietro mentioned, there's Rolex based in Biel. There is Omega based here. There are quite, I think in total, there are close to 50 or 60 watch brands based here in the city.
Amazing. Well, no, thank you for that one. That's it from me. That was absolutely amazing. So hopefully next year we're going to do a drive, get everybody in our cars, and we'll drive over to see you and meet you in person. We'll look forward to that. With Pietro driving. You have to save it for a concept. You have to save it for a supercar, Pietro, as well. You can lead the way to Switzerland.
It would be a great concept, because in the space of a few miles we can really have a great experience in terms of landscapes over there, and then, you know, all the fun related to watchmaking.
Cool. We'll work on that. Sadly, this year is going to be a little bit complex with getting abroad, but will be something to look forward to definitely doing next year. So hopefully we'll see you, and hopefully I'll be able to meet you in person as well at some point.
Yes, looking forward.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. There'll be a notification reference. The next factory visit we'll have live soon. We're just about to confirm it, so apologies for the delay in the announcement of that one. And hopefully we've got 5 meets this month, so hopefully I'll get to see most of you face to face over the course of May. Thanks again to everyone in Switzerland. Thanks to members. Thanks to Pietro, and I'll see you all soon.